guys sick of me talking about the JMT yet? Because I have another video about the JMT. If you didn't know it, I did the JMT last year. Anyway, here we go. This is gonna be about resupply on the JMT, specifically going northbound. Let's go. There's a few different options you have, but all of them are kind of less than ideal, I would say. Large hike out. One of your first resupply options going northbound out of the JMT is actually at Onion Valley or over Kearsarge Pass. Now, the issue with this, again, this is your closest resupply, but the issue with this is that it's also gonna be 7 miles off trail, and then you also need to get a hitch into town from the trailhead in order to get to your resupply. This ultimately will add 14 miles onto your itinerary and probably will cost you a day on the trail. Now, your next two options are Muir Trail Ranch and Vermilion Valley Resort. And these two resupply options are way further down the trail again. First option is Muir Trail Ranch. That is gonna be the closest, but only by about 20 miles compared to VVR. With Muir Trail Ranch, there is, to my understanding, no food that you can actually get there. You basically go in there, you grab your resupply, and you kind of get out. The other thing with Muir Trail Ranch that I've heard is the hike back up to the trail. There's a lot of vert with that, so that's something to consider. The next option is Vermilion Valley Resort, and this is actually what I ended up doing myself. Biggest con with this is that this was 152 miles away from when I first started in Horseshoe Meadows. This made me carry 8.5 days of food in a bear can.
Yeah, I should probably say why my pack is so damn big. Carrying 8.5 days of food, so it'll be challenging for a few days, but every day it'll get a little bit better.
Which I don't necessarily really recommend because there was a lot of weight. The reason I picked VVR over MTR was the simple fact was it was, you know, another day away from MTR. To me, it wasn't that big of a deal. There was amenities at VVR that drew me there, such as showers, food, general store, camping. There was a whole slew of things that just seemed to add up and make sense for me when I'd been on trail for that long. I will say those showers were amazing. The food was great. Resupply was easy. There was a couple hiker boxes, and it was ultimately pretty awesome. Now again, the cons would be that is a giant way for a resupply, and I would never go 8.5 days without a resupply again if I didn't have to. Physically, it was tough to carry that much weight, and also mentally, that was when I kind of had one of my lowest point on the JMT was when I was about 2 days away, and I was kind of running low of food, and I just felt like I just was never gonna make it to real food and my resupply. As long as you can get through those two things, VVR seems like a pretty good place to resupply. The one thing you have to know about Vermilion Valley Resort is that they have a ferry that runs to and from the resort from across Lake Edison. Now you have the option of actually, if the ferry's not running, you can hike that to the resort, but I believe it was like 3 to 4 extra miles, which of course we didn't want to do. So we waited for the ferry. Now, again, with the JMT, if you've seen any of my previous videos, it stormed every day that I was on the JMT, besides 2 when I was close to Yosemite. The issue with this is that the ferry will not run when there's a threat of a storm or if there's an ongoing storm, which they come and pick you up in the afternoon, which is always when these storms hit. So there is the very real possibility that the ferry will be delayed or won't come. In our case, it was actually delayed for about 1.5 hours, and we sat there kind of in the rain hoping that this ferry was gonna come and pick us up, which it ultimately did. One thing that VVR did not like was one of the people in our group called in to see if they were actually gonna pick us up or not, and they were pretty pissed off about that. So just be aware that it may or may not come, just depending on the weather. But I think they do their best to try and get out there and get everybody. The final place to actually resupply is in Red's Meadow. Red's Meadow comes further, a couple days after VVR, and this is when you're gonna start getting service and all that kind of stuff, all that great stuff. And if you're in the case like me, nobody really texted you to see if you were okay. I'm forgettable. You can send a resupply to Red's Meadow, but you can also stop in there like I did because it was pretty much right off trail. You can just stop in there, grab something to eat. I will say that their burritos were like $18, which was, I mean, pretty damn steep in my opinion, but they were good, and it also minuses a lunch that you might have to carry out of your resupply. I'll leave a link up here for the episode of when I went to VVR, so you can kind of check that out and see what it kind of looks like. And other than that, that does it for the video. We'll see you guys later for the next one.